so good to be sitting down filming long form content again. I cannot even tell you how much I have missed YouTube and missed talking to you guys for as long as I want. There is something so constrictive about short form content. As much as I think TikTok is fun and Reels are fun and Instagram posts are fun, there is something so freeing about a YouTube video where I can just talk and talk and talk. And I don't know, I just feel like I can actually be my authentic self without trying to like constrict it and cut myself down and keep like trying to attend to the short attention spans that I know we are all developing because of the social media apps. So I'm so glad if you have returned back to the channel, or if this is your first time seeing me, hello, love to have you here. I will explain why I did go MIA. I was super passionate and really excited to start YouTube at the end of 2024, but some health stuff, not gonna lie, was pretty scary. And I'm still sort of getting on top of it now. I had some chronic health stuff that really flared up in a really scary way, and there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to sit down, film. I was barely even reading, so like that's fun. But we're on the up, guys. We're on the up very slowly. I just have to take it smooth, take it easy, and you guys genuinely bring me so much joy. Making videos, content creation brings me so much joy, and at the moment when I don't have a whole lot that I can be doing with my health, this is one thing that I can control and that I can do. So I'm just so grateful if you're here. Honestly, so grateful if you're here. I have got so many exciting videos that I want to film now that I'm feeling better, and I have so many banger recommendations. I'm just looking down at the pile of books that I read in March and I'm just like, damn. In terms of like trying to pick a favorite read, in terms of trying to think of like the best books that are going to come out of 2025, I feel like March is going to be a strong contender for like putting all of them up the very top. It was an insane reading month. I hope you have a drink. My drink today is a Monster Energy Ultra Fantasy Ruby Red, which honestly is probably just like 15 different chemicals and colorings, but she's gonna do the job. Cheers to this random concoction of chemicals. Oh, and it's also like 1,000,000 degrees. I am sweating. It is disgusting. Sitting on leather is just not the go, but I don't really have another option right now. So just, if you see me looking sweaty, ignore it, okay? Just ignore it. Now, the very first book that I read in March, I had no business reading this month, because what do you mean? What do you mean that the team at Hachette reached out to me and asked if I would like to read an early copy of The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig? Truly, I still don't even know how this is in my hands right now, and I read it within 24 hours of receiving it, and yes, I did in fact tear up when I received that email to say that I would be getting it. Yeah, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing, especially because I absolutely adored the Shepherd's King duology by her last year. If you're not familiar, the One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns, this is her new duology, which is another gothic fantasy. So before I even get into the review, can I just say a massive thank you to Hachette, because without them, I would still just be dreaming about this book coming out in May. So mark your calendars, it's coming out in May. Let's get straight into it, because this is absolutely insane that I am able to talk about this early. First of all, it's a yes. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Do I recommend this book? Abso-freaking-lutely, and especially if you did like One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, I think you're going to really like this, even though it is slightly different by the way that like storytelling, of course, like it's not going to be the same. But I do think that you are going to get the hit that you are potentially looking for with a gothic fantasy in this book. So The Night and the Moth is book 1 in the Stonewater Kingdom, I'm pretty sure it's called, so it's another duology, and this one is all about the magic system is based in like divination, which is dreaming and being able to predict futures. So our main character, Sybil, she's a diviner working in this cathedral with 6 other diviners who are essentially like chosen from a very young age to be like blessed with the ability to read these omens and be able to predict bad things happening in people's futures if they come and get their omens read at this cathedral. Now, this magic system, so interesting, so unlike anything I've ever read before. It's also really quite morbid, not going to lie. I'm not going to tell you how they do the divining, because I feel like that is quite like a moment, like you kind of go, oh okay, we're going there. So it's quite dark, it's quite grim, and I respect her for that, honestly. She said, if I'm going to be known as the Queen of Gothic Fantasy, then I'm going to go 10 toes in, and she did. There is also a subplot of yearning filled romance. And he is delicious. It's got so much like reluctance to it. I love that. I love it when they're actually genuinely sort of at each other's throats a little bit for not enjoying each other's presence. And then they're like, wait a minute, when did we actually start kind of wanting to, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? When did I kind of like, yeah, like when did you start looking like that? Like, this man knows how to sew. He knows how to do his own eyeliner every day. He wears eyeliner underneath, and I'm sorry, but that is like the sluttiest thing I can think a man can do, which honestly, Getting an arc for a book like this is such a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it's so exciting because I'm like, I know what happens. But on the other side of that is I have no one to talk about it with. There is a very limited pool of people who have read it, and I just want to be able to like talk with you guys and see how you feel about it, because I don't know if I would say that I prefer this, or like, it's a really different storytelling. Like, I do feel that it took a while for me to get into this story. I remember sitting at about the 100-page mark thinking that surely atmosphere was there, the writing was great, the characters were intriguing, but I was not really sure what the point of the story was. Like, I was sort of waiting for the point, or like the actual plot to kind of kick in. But I do think that in comparison, this book is a slightly slower book. Like, I did really enjoy it. I don't know if I enjoyed it more than One Dark Window. I'm still sitting on it, because in some ways the ending of this, there were so many side characters that I loved, but I felt partially more invested, I think, in One Dark Window. But at the same time, there were some brilliant side characters. There is a gargoyle that has so much sass and attitude in this that he is like just the best thing ever. He's so great. And some of the other takeaways as well were really precious. But yeah, I'm still sort of sitting on whether or not I even want to compare the two series that or the duology, sorry, that she's written at the moment. I'm pretty comfortable with a 4.5 star rating for this one. I don't think it was quite there for a 5 star, but I was still very invested, and it left on a cliffhanger that I kind of saw coming, but I am intrigued to see what she does with the second book. So yeah, 4.5, mark your calendars, May, then we can finally discuss. I want someone to talk about this with. I just need a quick refuel. I'm still really on the fence about this. I have no idea what the flavor's actually meant to be, but I don't know, it doesn't have me sold, but I kind of need it because it's really hot and I'm kind of getting tired, so. Now this is what I mean by how did I read all of these in March? How did I back that read onto The Hero of Ages, which is the third and final book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy? This was one of the most impressively executed final books, endings in a fantasy series. Like, one of the most impressive trilogies I have ever read, hands down. Holy shit. I did immersive read this entire series, which means I audiobooked it as well as read it at the same time, and I highly recommend, if you are able to do that, please do it, because the narrator is phenomenal. He puts on a different voice for every single character, and none of them sound ridiculous. You know how sometimes they can put on a voice and you just want to cringe? Not at all. This guy just nails it. Oh my god, he nails it. But I just want to say that Brandon Sanderson is genuinely one of the most impressive writers I have ever had the privilege of reading. The way that this man is able to masterfully create such a wide scope of a world with intense, well actually no, I'm gonna take that back, it's not intense, impressive politics with an insane magic system that is somehow extremely impressive but not complicated unnecessarily, and a cast of characters that are all really unique, all really like lovable for very different reasons. Like, there is just, I am just utterly in awe at his ability to storytell. Like, you can tell that this man had all 3 books written out before he even published the first one. Everything had a purpose. Every side conversation had a purpose. Everything briefly mentioned ended up meaning something in the final book. And I saw someone perfectly word it where they said, nothing really mattered until everything mattered. And that is such a beautiful way to sum up this series. All of the characters were distinctly lovable. Like, there were so many characters that I think about and I have so much just like space in my heart for them because they feel real at the end of this third book. I didn't know. Everyone just said that the ending was going to blow me away, and it did. Like, he doesn't pull punches. It was phenomenal. It was really so phenomenal. As a trilogy, as an entirety, I think I would probably rate it a 4.5 stars. I think there were some pacing personal preferences that I thought some of the areas were a bit slow, especially in that middle book there. And I do think that his ability to write characters that you feel emotionally super invested in is probably not his strongest area. I do think that like world building, magic systems and politics is where his absolute forte is, but I have heard that he also seriously works on this. Something that I really loved about The Hero of Ages, and obviously like the trilogy as a whole, because everything had to be like done exactly how it was for everything to be able to play out the way that it did, but the themes that it really looked at in terms of like truth and belief and hope for a society and what it can do, both good and bad. Like, it really looks at like, why do we believe in what we do, and the blind faith that people can have and how that can be helpful for people and really save, you know, societies, as well as it can be really impactful because people will kind of blindly just follow along, not really questioning things. And it was just a really interesting constant conversation that was being had. And yeah, I just really love the way that that all became really, really important in the final events that happened in this book. But yeah, just the way that faith and belief in why we believe in what we believe and why should we believe in anything was just, it was a really interesting conversation. And it was one of the first times I think I've read about that sort of thing and religion in this way before. I mean, I only just found out that the Mistborn series was his second ever published book, which blows my mind because I could fucking never. I could truly never. So if you are intimidated at all by reading the Brandon Sanderson universe, yes, they are long, but they are not unnecessarily complicated. They are so worth it. The payoff is so worth it, and I am just so glad that I've read this year. Like, I'm so glad that I bit the bullet and committed to the Cosmere. So I rated this book a 5-star. This was a 5-star read for me. Absolutely phenomenal. That ending, I just sat staring at a wall after I read that ending thinking, he really did that. He really did that. And that's all I've got to say about the Hero of Ages. I took no breaks. This was like that club, another club. No breaks. That is what I felt like this month. Like, I have just not had a single book that wasn't just utterly engaging or extremely anticipated. So Sunrise on the Reaping, duh. Do I even need to introduce this book? Probably not. I probably don't even need to tell you what this is about. This is Hamish Abernathy's book. And yes, I cried a significant amount of tears in this limited yet very impactful book. I think the timing of this book being released was extremely important. It really does feel like Suzanne Collins just read the lay of the land and said, I really need to make sure that I am like reminding people exactly what's going on. Like, I really need to make sure that the mist is not covering anybody's eyes. The wool needs to be removed from people's eyes and people need to know exactly what's going on around them. So in terms of that, I think it was phenomenal. I rated this a 4.25 stars. I don't think there was anything wrong with it per se. I think that it was not necessarily anything that we haven't already explored before in terms of thematically. It is very heavy in the themes of propaganda and of you don't actually, like, you can't trust what you are being shown, especially by those in power. It is very much it felt kind of like the messaging that we received in books 1 and 2 in the original trilogy, just more succinctly. But what I will say is what she did pull off phenomenally was showing the power of grassroots when it comes to revolution, and that revolutions can't just happen overnight. This is generations of people trying to make change, and we are kind of getting to see the middle point of when things are starting to stir. There are people who are unhappy on both sides of the equation of this situation here, both in the capital and in the districts. There are people who are not thinking this system is correct, and showing that there are going to be false starts. There are going to be attempts that don't necessarily come to any fruition, but that is how we all got to the original trilogy that resulted in the absolute rebellion that we got to see executed in the Hunger Games. So I think this was so important to connect so many dots, to show so much impact, and it added so much texture to the original trilogy. So 4.25, I do think the reading experience was good. I did think that the games felt oddly paced. I will just say that. I felt that the reading experience of the games felt, I don't know, just like it felt both fast and slightly underwhelming, and not in a way that like I wanted to see things morbidly happening to children. I think that just for the amount of people that were in there, because double the amount of people were reaped into these games, I felt that the stakes didn't match that. It didn't feel equally as high in my opinion, and I was kind of expecting that to feel extra tense. So that was just my personal reading experience. I do still think it's a phenomenal book. I think that the franchise in general is extremely important, and I am just so glad that everyone is like taking away the right notes, if you know what I mean. It's not just entertainment, this is a message. By this point in March, I had read The Hero of Ages, which destroyed me. I had read Sunrise on the Reaping, which had destroyed me, and I think I was just ready. I was ready for something a little more lighthearted, and so I picked up First Time Caller by B.K. Borison because honestly the cover's really cute, and a lot of people have been saying it was a really refreshing story, and I hadn't read a romance in a little while, and so I picked this one up. This is between Aiden and Lucy. We have Aiden, who is a radio show host, and he runs a late night love hotline essentially. People call him with their problems, looking for advice, and honestly my guy is burnt out. He is not really like big on this whole love thing. He's got his own personal reasons why he's not really believing in love at the moment, but also I kind of like understand the fact that listening to people's problems day in and day out would probably turn you off love a little bit. You'd just be hearing about all of the bad examples and all the reasons why it doesn't work. So I can kind of understand why my guy's not enjoying his job, but he's also not enjoying the prospect of love. And then we have our female main character, Lucy. Now she is a single mum and she's also a mechanic, which I love. We honestly don't really get that much representation of women in like traditionally male-esque jobs, and so I loved that, as well as her co-workers. I just thought that was like a beautiful setup. And so the premise of this whole love story is that her daughter one night calls in to the late night show host, which Aiden is running, because she's concerned concerned that her mum is not putting herself out there and not looking for love anymore. The radio station hasn't really been performing that well lately, but when everyone starts hearing Lucy talk about the fact that she's actually looking for true love, she wants someone who will go the extra mile, she wants the spark, she doesn't want to settle because she's actually got quite a full life already. She's got a lot of people she loves around her, so why would she bother settling for mediocre when she wants the real deal? And so the radio channel runs with this and invites Lucy to come in a couple of times a week and actually go on air with Aiden to see if they can like find her somebody, which like it's good for their ratings, but also Lucy and Aiden get to spend more time together. I don't really want to say much more than that, but I just want you to see, like, if you can see how much I annotated this book. Their romance felt so grounded, it felt so real, mature, it felt like two people who actually had, for the most part, their shit figured out. I think that the whole spin on that Lucy actually already has her life feeling really full and she feels like she already has her shit together was a really nice just change in pace, because often they feel like they're missing something and that's what love provides for them. But she has her, like, the father of her child who is very much in their lives, their neighbors, their best friends. And so this actually just felt like a really mature, fun spin on a romance novel. And just the way that these two navigated their feelings, navigated things within themselves, it was just precious. I loved it. I think it 100% is worth the hype that everyone is talking about. It was also spicier than I was expecting, just putting that out there. That was kind of like a fun little treat as well. And I ended up landing on a 4.75 for this. I think the only reason it didn't feel like a 5-star was there was just something towards the 3/4 mark that wasn't like a full-blown third act breakup, but it was something that just felt a little bit unnecessarily thrown in there, and it just kind of like snagged, and I went like, oh, do we really have to go there and do that? But everything else about it I absolutely adored. Like, I do think that these two just absolutely suit each other perfectly, and I just loved this book so much. It was a delight from start to finish. Please read this if you like romance books. Now this next book, I think this is going to be up there with one of the best books that I read, I'm calling it now, in 2025. And that is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. I have seen so many people discussing her books. She also wrote The Sword of Kaigen, and this is a dark academia fantasy, or it might just be a dark fantasy, and oh my god, was this dark. This was dark, but it was also so unbelievably important, and I feel like I almost want to give this its own video, maybe potentially on one of my other socials, because there is so much to unpack here. I underlined and tabbed and wrote all of my thoughts on notes and all sorts of things because there was just so much to discuss here. It was insane. I don't even know where to begin with this. It was 5 stars. This is looking at oppression, sexism, colonialism, cultural erasure, imperialism. There is so much to unpack in this book that it truly is unbelievable. And the magic system was truly one of the most unique things that I have ever read. It was almost as if coding was made magic, like on a computer, which might sound boring, but I promise you it's not. It is... There is so much I want to feel and say about this book, and I don't even know how to put it into words articulately. I'm going to try and do this book justice with a review. I can't promise that it's going to cover everything that I am going to want to, and I'm almost certain I'm going to watch this back and be like, but you didn't talk about, and just, I'm going to have to accept that. But this book is predominantly following 2 voices. We have Thommel, who is the person who opens this book up, and it's one of actually the most explosive starts to a fantasy I have ever read about. It was one of the most gruesome, intense starts to a story where I was just immediately like, I need to know what's going on right now. Thommel and his family and his community are being pushed to the edge of extinction because of something called the Blight. They don't know what it is, but people are basically being obliterated on the spot, like quite gruesomely as well. And so they are trying to flee. They are trying to make it to this seemingly like utopia called Tiran, which is a city that is basically encased in a globe. To get to this city, however, there is like this deadly run, this like patch of dead zone where people are known for basically being taken by the Blight as soon as you step into it. So they all sprint, and Thommel makes it through, but everybody else in his community dies except for his young niece, who he now needs to look after and has to pose as her father. The other person that you are following is Siona. Now, this is where this book starts to cover so many different important topics, because Siona is living inside that globe, that haven that they were all trying to run to. She's living within it. However, it is such a patriarchal society. She is trying to be the first female high mage ever anointed to that position, because they only allow females to try to become a high mage once every 10 years, because they are seen as basically a wasted opportunity. Like, they are seen as a waste of time even bothering to let them do it, too emotional, too unstable, too unreliable to be able to be a high mage, and that the control of magic really should be handled by responsible males who know how to basically then protect, lead, yada yada yada, the shit that we have seen in real life. This book really does feel like a parallel in so many ways to our real world, which is haunting and terrifying. Now, it's not a spoiler, it's literally written on the back of the book. Siona does actually become a high mage. She becomes the first female high mage. And I'm going to give you all 5 seconds to guess whether or not you think she is still treated with the same regard as all the other male counterparts who also get that promotion. If you said no, you would be correct. She is still treated like an absolute second-class citizen, and they all still just make fun of her to the point that she is actually supposed to be given several, what do you call them? Like lab assistants. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. She's supposed to be allocated lab assistants so that she can actually start and continue her science and her furthering of being a high mage and her magic. However, they go, oh, sorry, we ran out. You're just gonna have to take this janitor if you want someone. Now, if you guessed it, the janitor is Thomil from the first chapter. And it gets really interesting because Siona is in a position of both being oppressed but also being privileged because she is still seen as a Tyrannese person. So she does in some ways get rewarded, or she reaps the benefits of this society that Thomil is not, because he is seen as an immigrant, lesser than, not even really human. It is really quite appalling and disgusting, and again, you can see the parallels to real life in how we treat people who we see as other, and how we can often see them being treated as lesser than and like subhuman almost. It is absolutely appalling and heartbreaking. So Siona is a part of this system, but also facing oppression as a woman. It is such an interesting and extremely well done look into intersectionality and how just these two characters are, like, Siona is so ignorant and she is also just as much as racist and horrible in her inner monologue, as well as how she is just so racist without even realizing it. Like, she's kind of naive and just oblivious to the fact that her thinking is so bigoted, and it's honestly through her interactions with Thomil that you see her character progress. And she is not a particularly likable individual, and I don't think I need to like a character in order to appreciate them. She's an extremely well-written character because she's not super likable. She is power hungry, she's egotistical, she wants to be able to prove the system wrong and show that women can make a mark. She wants to be able to pioneer, and she has this ego on her. And you're seeing Thomil, who is just like impressed by her, but also just seeing her as part of a cog in this massive problem. And the way that they then start to uncover some things with the magic and how their magic system works and how their society is run, it enlightens her to how corrupt and effed up their entire world is, and it really, really impacts Thomil as well. And just seeing the deconstruction of her entire world and everything she believed in, her world starts falling apart. And I think it's heavily important that people read this, because the amount of introspection that I even had to do to stop and think about how I approach the world and how much we take for granted and don't see the sacrifices for all of the comfort and the niceties that we have around us. I know this sounds like this book is doing an unbelievable amount, and it's because it is. It really is, and still somehow it's a fantasy novel. So it still keeps the world tightly knit, the magic system is impressive, and the end is explosive and impactful, and everything about this book, I wish I could literally talk about this book on end forever, but honestly I think it would be like a 2-hour deep dive at that point. So 5 stars, more if I could. It's almost like an infinity star read at this point. It was just perfect. It was truly perfect. And one thing I do want to say about this book, if you go into it, it is not cryptic, it is not subtle in its messaging, it is very heavy-handed, and I guess some people may not like that, but I do think that there are subjects that you can't be subtle about. There are certain things that just need to be said as they are without some sort of like convoluted messaging. She's just really, because the whole world is set in 400 pages, she's getting to the point, and she may be, you know, cutting some corners in order to get that messaging direct, but I think that it was saying exactly what it needed to say in a way that was extremely impactful, and it has left its mark. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal. One of the best reads that I'll have for the year, hands down. I don't know how long I've talked about this book for at this point, so I hope you pick it up. Oh, my throat is genuinely sore from talking about that book for so long. Oh my god. I'm now looking at the last book that I read in March, and I'm just like, what a weird way to end this video. I listened to the audiobook of God of Malice, which is a dark romance. It's actually my first proper dark romance. I've read like mafia books before. I've read Butcher and Blackbird, which is kind of like a comedic dark romance, but this is my first like dark romance by Rena Kent, and yeah, this is a sharp U-turn in terms of just like, compared to Blood Over Brighthaven, Sunrise on the Reaping, The Hero of Ages, all of the themes, everything that was tackled that was so important. Yeah, God of Malice was fun. This is a romance between Killian and Glyndon. Killian is a diagnosed psychopath and part of an elite family, as well as Glyndon, who is also part of a rival elite family, and they both go to rival colleges. So the setting I actually really liked. I had no idea about the whole college setting and being at rival schools. One's like a European or like UK school, and one is like an art school, should I say. And then you have the, I think that's called the Royal RAU. The RAU is the UK one. Can't remember what the King's something or other? Don't know, can't remember what the American school is called, but that's the rival school, and they do a lot more of like the business, law, medicine kind of like subjects. So they're rivals, and they have a lot of like, you know, gangs and undercover clubs and all kind of messed up stuff, and both of their families, both Glyndon's and Killian, are very prominent in opposite sides. So Killian being a diagnosed psychopath, I mean, this guy, he gets off on pain, on trying to resist the urge to unalive, or can I say kill on this app? I'm not sure. Kill people. Yeah, it's more of a, I don't know what to say about this, because on one hand, it was entertainment. It was entertaining and shock value and just bonkers, like utterly bonkers, and so just outlandish that you can't help but just kind of be along for the ride. Check your trigger warnings, please, for the love of God, check your trigger warnings. Killian is insane. I personally feel like this was more like a Stockholm Syndrome relationship than anything else. It kind of felt like Glyndon just was like, I can't shake him, so I may as well just get along and get on board with this situation. And I think if I kind of compartmentalize him as an individual and like separate some of the really, really fucked up stuff that he does with later parts of the book, he could kind of be sweet, kind of, if I forget that he's kind of literally stalking and won't leave this girl alone. So yeah, he takes possessive to a whole other level. I don't know, I feel like I rated this like a 3.25 or like a 3 on Goodreads, because it's entertaining, but I don't think the writing is good. Like, the writing is pretty dated. Like, it reads like really bad Wattpad, and you can already tell that it's dated. Like, it feels like it was written in the 2010s. So I don't know. I don't really know where I sit with it, but I am intrigued with the side characters, because you get a lot of interaction with the side characters who I think have books in the rest of the series. So I'm kind of keen to actually read theirs, because the twin brothers of Glyndon, who's the main female character in this one, they're interesting. One of them is also a psychopath, and the other one is kind of like an opposite. And because they're twins, just their brotherly relationship apparently gets really good. So I'm interested to see some of the other side characters. This one, I just think apparently Killian is like the most unhinged, so it wasn't even his acts that put me off. I think it's just the way it was written was just, it was an interesting experience. I'll just say that, and such a weird way to finish the month compared to like all the other really awesome reads that I had. This was just a silly goofy time, and 3.25 maybe, question mark, entertainment, but like unhinged. I don't know, man, I don't know. Hey team, so this is actually Ainsley from the editing booth coming in here real quick. I completely fucking forgot to talk about a book that I read about halfway through the month, which was Butcher and Blackbird. I don't have the physical of it, I listened to it on audio, so that's probably why my pea-sized brain completely forgot to tell you about it. So, long story short, this is a dark romance. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this already. There are now 3 books in this interconnected standalone series by Bryn Weaver, where it is dark romantic comedies where 2 serial killers in this particular book fall in love with one another, and they both only kill other serial killers, so that's kind of fun. I had a fun time. I thought it was goofy and interesting and a bit whack. I didn't feel particularly connected to the characters. Some of the logistics were just kind of outlandish, and yeah, I don't think it was necessarily my favorite. I think I sat on like a 3-star for this one because it was entertaining, but I have not thought about it literally since I finished that audiobook, like not one single time. So yeah, check the hilarious trigger warnings, just because if you want to laugh, the author has a great sense of humor. So yeah, just thought I'd pop in here and let you know about that one, because I clearly forgot to talk about it. And that, my friends, is everything that I read in March. I have no idea how I'm ever going to be topping a month like that. Like, truly, that was some incredible reading, and just looking down at that, that is phenomenal. Let me know down in the comments what your favourite books were of March, and if you've read any of the books that I read as well in March. I'm excited to have some more videos coming your way, and yeah, just thank you so much for being here. I love you all, I appreciate you all, and look after yourselves.